could see the GST bill being passed in this monsoon session, and it has been said that on the very first day, the government is going to place this bill with the Rajya Sabha. The basic idea of the workshop is that there are 25 chapters in CGST and SGST law consisting of 162 sections, whereas sections. So that would in total constitute of around 195 sections and 36 chapters. So what we have done is we have broken up that 36 chapters into 12 sessions, wherein the faculty with the expertise in that particular field would be coming up and taking the sessions. I just now earlier displayed the faculty members and the days and date on when the session will take place. Today what I am going to do is I am going to start with the basics of what GST is, what are the fundamentals behind GST, why it is required, what are the advantages GST is going to give us, and how can we take this GST law further in our practice and take ahead with our clients. So very outset, GST was first time tabled in Lok Sabha in December 2014, which was passed by Lok Sabha in May 2015, and thereafter we are still waiting for this law to actually get passed from Rajya Sabha. Why is it getting so tough to get it passed? Is this because this is a financial bill, because it somehow changes the finance power or the taxation powers of the central government and the state government. And as per our constitution, such bills are classified as the financial bills, and those require the special majority. Special majority, that means 2/3 majority in both the houses with the Lok Sabha as well as with the Rajya Sabha. After that, once it is passed by the parliament, it will go to the states, and 50% of the states have to give their consent to this law, and then only this will come into force. Having said that, in this monsoon session we can expect the government to table this law. There are some apprehensions that once this law is passed, that would be 122nd constitutional amendment bill which will be going to pass. But after that, the real work will start, and the government has to come out with the CGST law, SGST law, and IGST law. So that would be the major part which will help us understand how we can help our clients in migrating from the earlier law to the new GST era. So when we talk about model GST law, the taxable event which has been brought under model GST law is supply, that you might be knowing it. So what is basically GST law? GST is nothing but a combination or a mixture of service tax, excise and the custom provisions. किया कुछ नहीं है उन्होंने, सिर लगा दिया सर्विस टैक्स का, बॉडी लगा दी उन्होंने एक्साइज की, टेल लगा दी कस्टम की. अब क्या एनिमल बना मुझे भी नहीं पता क्या बनाया उन्होंने. बट I would actually say that the GST law has been so shabbily dressed that if somebody reads it very openly, he will find out that this has not been read it even twice by the government. There are so many provisions which are open-ended, but since it is on the public domain of the Ministry of Finance, so we can expect some of the provisions to come up in the final law. So basically what model Indian economy is going to adopt under GST is, we are going to adopt dual concurrent GST model. What is that? Dual concurrent GST model is one where a particular activity, particular good or particular service is charged by both the governments at the same time. Central government and the state government both can charge the taxes at the same time. There are other models also where we call dual GST model, non-concurrent dual GST model. There are single GST model. Those are followed in different countries like in Australia, in USA. So these are different models which are adopted worldwide. First, at the very first country to implement GST was France, and then the latest was in Malaysia. And Malaysian government is still struggling to implement GST in its full spirit. What are the benefits? Why do we need GST? Zurat kya hai GST ki? At the very outset, when you go out somewhere, you have something. क्या आपके ऊपर VAT भी लगता है? Then you have to pay service tax. Then there are local taxes which are levied upon you. So there is multiplicity of taxes, and that multiplicity of taxes has to be done away with if the government actually wants to make the business doing easy in India. First of all, the very bigger benefit of this GST provision is that it will make India one India. That is, all the states will have the same procedures when GST is concerned. There will be same registration processes, there will be same payment processes, same return processes, everything will be same. Believe me, nowadays when a unit is registered in 29 states, they have to face so much of trouble in complying with 29 different laws. But now when GST is rolling in, it will be a similar law, similar provisions everywhere all across the country. So it will actually do away with the multiplicity of the taxes. Yesterday we were out somewhere and we had the food. वहाँ पे क्या हुआ? VAT was also levied on the same amount. We had a food of 1,000 rupees. उसके ऊपर VAT भी लग गया. Then on some portion, service tax was also there. That means there was a cascading effect. There was a tax on tax by the government. That is the different thing, that VAT is levied by state government and the service tax is levied by the central government. But when we talk about as a consumer, we have to pay both the taxes at the same time. The GST will actually do away with all that. Okay. Another advantage which we are seeing from GST is growth in GDP by 2%. Apparently, it looks like that GST would be having the rate of 18% as suggested by the Arvind Subramanian committee. It would seem that how it will help GDP to grow, because it might have inflationary effect. So GST itself will be will play a bigger role in ease of doing business. That would allow the foreign investors to come in and invest in the country and increase our business. Okay. One request I would like to make: if you have any queries, you have mics in your place, you can ask me at that time only. Stop me there and we'll resolve that query there and then. Okay. We have talked about the concurrent dual GST model. Now, what is the charging section? There are two sections. One is section 7 and section 4. Section 4 is for IGST Act, whereas section 7 is for CGST and SGST Act. Before I start, what is CGST, SGST and IGST? CGST is the tax which is levied by the central government. SGST is the tax which is levied by the state government, and IGST is the tax which is levied by the central government, but it will be a portion between the state and the central government on the basis of the decision made by the GST Council. IGST is basically levied on a sale of inter-sale goods and services. Okay. Now, what does section 7 says? There shall be levied a tax called central or state GST on all intra-state supplies of goods and or services at the rate specified in the schedule of this act and collected in such manner as may be prescribed. Now, what section 7 says is, it is restricted to the intra-state supply. That means, if I am a supplier situated in Chandigarh, I will be covered under section 7 when I will be supplying my goods within Chandigarh itself. If I am supplying goods outside Chandigarh, maybe to Delhi or maybe some other state, then I will not be covered under this provision. Then I have to go to the IGST Act section 4, which says there shall be levied a tax called the Integrated Goods and Service Tax on all supplies of goods and services in the course of interstate trade or commerce. Every interstate supply of goods and service would be covered by IGST section 4. Have I made myself clear on this? If you have any queries, please interrupt me in between so that it could be clarified. Next, अब goods and service tax की बात करते हैं. What are goods? Goods have been defined by section 248. What does it say? Goods means every kind of movable property other than actionable claim and money, but includes securities, growing crops, grass, and things attached or forming part of the land which are agreed to be served before supply or under the contract of supply. Now, what is this? इसमें इसने एक्शनेबल क्लेम और मनी को तो बाहर कर दिया, लेकिन साथ में जो सिक्योरिटीज को जोड़ दिया. Now every purchase and sale of the security would be considered as the supply of goods and it will be covered under GST law. अभी तक इसके ऊपर एम्बिग्विटी थी कि अभी रिसेंटली इन्होंने म्यूचुअल फंड एजेंट्स के ऊपर भी सर्विस एक्ट लगाया, बट यहाँ पे GST में they have made it very clear that the securities will be goods for the purpose of GST. Now, what does the explanation says? For the purpose of this clause, the term movable property shall not include any intangible property. अब ये भी ambiguity इन्होंने खत्म कर दी सेंट्रल एक्साइज एक्ट में. It was very ambiguous whether the IT companies are covered under the central excise or under the service tax act. There was so much litigation on that. They have made it very clear any intangible good, be it software, be it any right or be it any intellectual property will be covered under service, not under goods. Okay. और सर्विस की डेफिनेशन तो इन्होंने बहुत ही सिंपल दे दी 288 में. वहां बोलते हैं एनीथिंग which is other than goods. अब पहले आपको ये देखना पड़ेगा कि पर्टिकुलर एक्टिविटी वेदर इट इज अ गुड और अ सर्विस. पहले तो आप अगर ये देख लेते हैं कि इट्स नॉट अ गुड तो ऑब्वियसली इट इज अ सर्विस. ओके, तो व्हाट इज द पैरामीटर टू चेक इज यू हैव टू फर्स्ट गो थ्रू द डेफिनेशन ऑफ 248, see whether that particular activity falls under goods. If it does not fall under goods, then it is a service. Okay. Now, the taxable event in section 7 and section 4 we have read, it says intrastate supplies and interstate supplies. Okay, now what is supply? Supply means all form of supply of goods and or services such as sale, transfer, barter, exchange, license, rental, lease and disposal made or agreed to be made for a consideration by a person in course of furtherance of business. यहाँ पे एक चीज इंपॉर्टेंट है कि furtherance of business is an important ingredient to charge GST. If it is not used for the business until and unless provided by any other schedule or section, then till that time it will be it will not be charged to GST. If it is used for business and it is for consideration and it includes the transfer, then it will be covered under the term supply, and then you will go to the chargeability section. Is it clear? Now, the terms which is used is sale. Sale we know when one person is selling to the another for a profit or at any consideration. Transfer. Transfer is a very wide term. Transfer would cover your branch transfer. Then it will cover your transfer to your agents. It will cover the transfer to your consignment agents, or maybe any other form of transfer. That would be covered under this transfer. Then barter system. अब बार्टर सिस्टम में सबसे बड़ी प्रॉब्लम क्या है? Will not be able to define what the consideration is. How will you define what in what value is the goods have been exchanged? So in barter system we will have to take the help of GST valuation rules which have been brought up under this act itself, and there we have to see whether the what is the consideration on which GST has to be charged. Okay. Then exchange, license, rental, lease and disposal is also covered. Disposal means when you are selling some goods which are of no use to you, that is also covered under GST. Importation of goods, importation of services, whether or not for a consideration and whether or not in the course of furtherance of business. Now यहाँ पे ध्यान रखिए, what it says is import of services. It's not saying import of goods. Import of service means only the import of service which is without the consideration or with the consideration which is used whether or not for the business furtherance. ये इसमें important है कि goods की import के ऊपर कोई इस तरह का नहीं है. If the goods have been imported and they have without consideration or whether or not they have been used for the business or not, they will not be charged to GST. ये इसमें ध्यान रखना. Import of goods consideration के साथ है, उसके बाद business में use नहीं किया तो भी नहीं लगेगा. Import of goods consideration के बिना है और business में use किया है तो भी नहीं लगेगा. It is only the services which are going to be covered by this clause. Then the C is supply specified in schedule 1 made or agreed to be made without a consideration. अब यहाँ पे क्या हो गया सर, ये इन्होंने सर्विस टैक्स एक्ट वाला फंडा उठा लिया. जो सर्विस टैक्स की हमारी डेफिनेशन है, it says any activity by one person to another person for a consideration shall be chargeable to 14% provided in the declared service other than those in the negative list or the mega exemption notification. Now there is a concept of declared service under GST. They have brought the concept of deemed supplies under this GST also. सर्विस टैक्स में डिक्लेयर सर्विस है, यहाँ पे इन्होंने इसको डीम सप्लाई लिया है कि जो भी सप्लाई यहाँ पे मेंशन है शेड्यूल के अंदर, whether or not without the consideration, it will be chargeable to GST. What is subsection 2 says, in respect of matters mentioned therein shall apply for determining what is or is not to be treated as supply of goods or a supply of service. There could be many things which generally would come out of the parlance of supply. They have specifically mentioned schedule 2, wherein any activity mentioned under schedule 2 would be a supply whether the above conditions are fulfilled or not. वो supply मानी जाएंगी चाहे कंसिडरेशन है बिजनेस के लिए है या नहीं है, irrespective of those facts. Like आपका renting of immovable property है, right of use of intellectual property rights, then tenancy rights. There are so many. There's a list we're going to do in the next slides. तो वो वाली सारी जो चीजें हैं, that would be supply under GST, irrespective whether they fulfill the other conditions or not. Now, how to consider the supply? There are 4 parameters. First, there should be a transfer of goods or services. Second, it should be for consideration. Third, it should be for the furtherance of business, that is defined under 2 subsection 17. And if there is import of service, that would be covered under supply. If these 4 parameters are not satisfied, but the supply has been mentioned under Schedule 1 and the Schedule 2, the tax has to be paid on that. There is no any sort of benefit under this Schedule 1 and Schedule 2. जैसे हम उसमें सर्विस टैक्स में करते हैं ना कि पहले एक्टिविटी देखा whether it is service or not, उसके बाद देखते हैं कि वो नेगेटिव लिस्ट में है, एग्जेम्पशन लिस्ट में है, अगर वहां नहीं है तो देखते हैं डिक्लेयर्ड में है कि नहीं है. तो दिस इज हाउ वी चेक इट. तो यहाँ पे भी उन्होंने कहा कि पहले आप देखें कि whether it is a good सप्लाई की डेफिनेशन में फॉल कर रहा है. अगर वहां नहीं फॉल कर रहा है then go to the Schedule 1 and Schedule 2. अगर वहां पे फॉल कर रहा है it is a supply and GST has to be paid on that. Okay. Now what are supplies without consideration as mentioned in Schedule 1? Permanent transfer or disposal of business assets. If I am closing down my business or otherwise I am transferring or disposing of my business assets, I would be covered under the GST provisions and I have to pay GST. The second is temporary application of business asset to a private or non-business use. अब यहाँ पे क्या होता है, most of the companies give their directors को कार दे देते हैं या कोई और amenity उनको दे देते हैं. That have been specifically covered under this Schedule 1. That means any such incentive or any benefit of any input capital goods or any input service which is used other than the businesses for a private use temporarily, not permanent, temporarily for some period of time, then it has to be covered by GST and GST has to be charged on that. Okay. Services put to a private or non-business use, assets retained after deregistration. अब ये क्यों उन्होंने डाला asset retained after deregistration? फर्स्ट क्लॉज में ये बोलता है परमानेंट ट्रांसफर और डिस्पोजल ऑफ बिजनेस एसेट्स. उसके बाद ये बोलता है एसेट्स रिटेन आफ्टर डी रजिस्ट्रेशन. सपोजिटली एक कंपनी है वो 15 जुलाई को अपनी रजिस्ट्रेशन विड्रॉ करवा जाती है एंड इट हैज द एसेट्स विद दैट कंपनी. व्हाट वुड हैपन? दैट कंपनी वुड ईदर ट्रांसफर दोज एसेट्स टू सम अदर कंपनी और इट वुड डिस्पोज ऑफ टू सम अदर कंसर्न. दैट इज अ टैक्सेबल इवेंट अंडर GST. They have clearly mentioned that even if you are not registered or if you have surrendered your registration, you would be chargeable to GST on the written down value of the assets in your books of accounts. Okay. Then supply of goods and services by the taxable person to another taxable or non-taxable person in course of furtherance of business. It would not matter whether I am making a supply to a taxable registered person or to a non-taxable person. I have to pay GST on that. If I am a taxable registered person, I have to pay GST irrespective of my purchaser, whether it is registered or not. Now this is Schedule 2. The green ones which are mentioned here are the deemed services. The red one is the deemed supply of goods. Okay. What are the activities covered? Transfer of title or rights in the goods, lease, tenancy, easement, license, etc. in supply of service. Then any treatment or process, job work, deemed supply of service. Sir, अभी जो recently service tax में हुआ है, they have given the exemption to the job worker where they are supplying to the excise registrant units. तो उनको अभी job worker को tax नहीं लगता है service tax. But यहाँ पे उन्होंने specify कर दिया है कि अगर job worker भी transfer कर रहा है goods to the principal supplier, then also GST has to be levied. Transfer of business asset, then renting of immovable property, construction of a complex like the works contract, temporary transfer of IPR, services related to information technology software. अब इन्होंने लिख दिया services related to information technology software. It covers very wide sort of activities. One, data retrieval services, then data storage services, server services. अभी इसके ऊपर बहुत एम्बिग्विटी थी पहले सर्विस टैक्स में, whether those are taxable or not, whether it will be export of supply export of service or not, whether refunds are applicable or not. But in this case, it has clearly mentioned that any service related to information technology software would be chargeable to GST. There is no ambiguity as such. Then agreeing to the obligation to refrain from an act or to tolerate an act or a situation or to do an act. Now what is this? अभी हम सर्विस टैक्स में भी ये डिक्लेयर्ड सर्विस के अंदर प्रोवाइडेड है. अब वहां पे हम क्या समझते हैं कि जो पीनल प्रोविजंस है, जो पीनल एक्शन हमारे ऊपर दिया जाता है, दैट इज आल्सो लायबल टू सर्विस टैक्स. नो, इट इज नॉट लायबल टू सर्विस टैक्स, because under this entry what it says is agreeing the obligation to refrain to do an act. That means on the day one I am agreeing to refrain from an act. मैं वो काम नहीं करूंगा. Day one पे मैंने बोल दिया कि मेरे को आप consideration दीजिए and I will not do this work. So और जो penal action होता है वो ये होता है, it is done due to the violation of a contract. Let's say if I enter into a contract with ABC Limited and they give me a contract to complete the work in 18 months and I don't complete that in 18 months, they will levy a penal charge on me. Will that cover under service tax? No, it is not covered. But on the day one when the company comes to me and it says that you will not work for another unit and we will pay you 5 lakhs for that, that is covered under service tax. It has to be from the day one that we are agreeing to refrain from an activity. Penal action or penal charges will not be covered under GST. Works contract including the transfer of goods in execution of works contract, transfer of right in the use of goods or any part for the purpose of for consideration, services in supply of food or any article. The service component in the food or articles would have to be charged under GST. अब यहाँ पे मैं आपको बता दूं जो goods का component है, जो material हम use कर रहे हैं in restaurant service, that would be covered under normal provisions. वो आप section 7 के हिसाब से देखेंगे. लेकिन जो service component है, that will be charged under this deeming section. And in this case, what you have to do is you have to bifurcate what the material cost is and what is the service cost. And only then the GST would be charged.
Keshav, one point over here. Do we really need to bifurcate when the tax rate will be same now? Earlier, the reason for bifurcation was that VAT rate is different on goods.
Yes.
Will they be same rate?
Her question is very right in this sense because GST would actually subsume goods tax and the services tax. Why do we need to bifurcate? We are coming forward with this. We are having time of supply rules, place of supply rules, which are different for goods and which are different for services. So that is why we need to understand the distinction between the goods and the services. That we are coming henceforth, ma'am, and we'll be discussing about that. Okay, services, goods supplied to members by unincorporated association, BOP, club, shall be deemed to be supply of goods. Mutual concept has been extinguished. अब यहाँ पे सर एक बहुत अच्छी चीज ये ले आए हैं, वो ये लेके आए हैं कि म्यूचुअलिटी कॉन्सेप्ट यहाँ पे जीएसटी में नहीं चलेगा. अगर एओपी है, एओपी अपने मेंबर्स को कुछ सर्व कर रही है, दैट विल बी चार्जेबल टू जीएसटी. देयर इज नो म्यूचुअलिटी बेनिफिट अवेलेबल. अभी इनकम टैक्स के अंदर भी अवेलेबल था, सर्विस टैक्स में भी अवेलेबल था. देन देयर वर अदर लॉज वेयर द सेल्फ सप्लाई वाज नॉट चार्जेबल टू टैक्स, बट इन दिस सेल्फ सप्लाई आर चार्जेबल टू जीएसटी. Who is liable to pay GST? We have talked about GST. हमने supply की बात कर दी. Now we need to know who is liable to pay GST. When we talk about Northeast and the Sikkim state, any taxable person whose turnover exceeds, aggregate turnover exceeds 5 lakh have to pay GST. And in another other than Northeast or Sikkim, whose aggregate turnover is exceeding 10 lakh rupees have to pay GST. अब सर aggregate turnover क्या है? Aggregate turnover is taxable supplies plus non-taxable supplies plus exempt plus export of goods and services minus the material supplied in the job work on behalf of the principal. अब सर इसमें एक एग्जांपल मैं देता हूँ. Supposedly my export of goods is worth rupees 8 lakhs and I am supplying taxable goods worth rupees 3.5 lakhs. Then also I am liable to pay GST. Otherwise, my export of goods are nil rated under GST. उनके ऊपर GST नहीं लगेगा. But due to this aggregate turnover definition, I have to club all that, and after that I have to see whether I am crossing that turnover of 10 lakhs or not. If I am crossing that 10 lakh, I have to pay GST on that 3.5 lakh which I am supplying as a taxable turnover. Now, there is a compounding option where the supplier whose supply does not exceed rupees 50 lakhs कैन ऑप्ट फॉर अंडर सेक्शन 8. अब कंपाउंडिंग ऑप्शन क्या है सर? आपका अगर टर्नओवर 50 लाख से कम है, एग्रीगेट टर्नओवर, यू कैन ऑप्ट फॉर कंपाउंडिंग ऑप्शन. आप सिर्फ 1% टैक्स पे कीजिए और आपको कोई और टैक्स CGST, IGST कुछ और नहीं लगेगा. बट द बिगेस्ट डिसएडवांटेज व्हिच वी आर सीइंग हियर इज that you will move out of the credit tax chain. You will not be able to avail credit of the taxes you have paid on the purchases. Neither you will be able to pass on that to your customers. तो अभी इसमें आप खुद क्या करेंगे? मतलब एज ए CA अगर आप प्रैक्टिस कर रहे हैं, there might be clients those who require your CGST or SGST bill. They would ask you to give that. But otherwise आप देखेंगे तो आपको 1% पे करना बेनिफिशियल है. तो इसके लिए सबसे बेटर तरीका है कि 2 फॉर्म बनाओ, ठीक है, अलग अलग नेम से बनाओ, अलग अलग पैन से बनाओ. जहाँ पे SSC मानता है, जो आपका क्लाइंट है वो मानता है कि जी GST वाला बिल दो, वहाँ पे आप नॉर्मल प्रोविजन में पे कर दो, अदरवाइज आप अपने 1% में चलाते हो. बिकॉज चंडीगढ़ इज नॉट सच अ बिग सिटी दैट पीपल वुड हैव टर्नओवर एक्सीडिंग 50 lakhs, एटलीस्ट फॉर अ चार्टर्ड अकाउंटेंट. तो वहाँ पे यू कैन हैव 2 फर्म्स. एक में आप नॉर्मल अपना प्रोविजन लगाइए, एक में आप कंपाउंडिंग लीजिए, प्रोवाइडेड द पैन नंबर शुड बी डिफरेंट. पैन नंबर एक के ऊपर 2 रजिस्ट्रेशन नहीं होगी, बट यू हैव टू हैव 2 डिफरेंट पैन नंबर्स. आप एक अपनी वाइफ के नाम पे, स्पाउस के नाम पे लीजिए, एक अपने नाम पे लीजिए, एक पे कंपाउंडिंग, एक पे नॉर्मल.
This scheme is applicable for IGST also.
Yes.
1%.
Yes. Yes.
Check करना होगा.
IGST is also
कि भाई इंटरस्टेट सप्लाई करता हूँ तो भी 1%
1%. बिल्कुल. It is there. 100%. Now, what is the place of supply of goods and services? Where the supply of goods includes movement of goods. अगर मेरे कोई goods move हो रहे हैं, they can be removed. Location where the movement terminates. That means if I am selling my goods, I am in Punjab, I am selling it to, let's say, in Tamil Nadu. It will pass through so many states. हरियाणा से जाएगा, फिर मध्य प्रदेश, then there कर्नाटका, so many states it will go through. तो कहाँ पे मेरा पॉइंट होगा जहाँ पे टू पे दी टैक्स? बिकॉज जो GST है, GST इज अ डेस्टिनेशन बेस्ड कंजम्पशन टैक्स. जो जिस स्टेट के अंदर हमारा सप्लाई जा रही है, दैट स्टेट विल हैव द राइट टू कलेक्ट टैक्सेस ऑन दैट सप्लाई. ओके. अदरवाइज जो एक्साइज था, एक्साइज वाज द ओरिजिन बेस्ड टैक्स. उसमें क्या होता था कि अगर मैंने पंजाब से सप्लाई किया, ठीक है, और मैंने हरियाणा में मैं बेच रहा हूँ, तो पंजाब गवर्नमेंट यूज्ड टू कलेक्ट द टैक्सेस, या वैट लग जाता था. तो अभी यहाँ पे क्या होगा? इट इज दी हरियाणा गवर्नमेंट विच इज गोइंग टू कलेक्ट द टैक्सेस. अब यहाँ से अगर हम सेलिंग गुड्स टू पंजाब से तमिलनाडु मैंने भेजा, तो व्हाट आई एम गोइंग टू डू? कहाँ पे टैक्स दूंगा? कौन सी गवर्नमेंट को दूंगा? देन आई हैव टू सी कि मेरे गुड्स की मूवमेंट कहाँ टर्मिनेट हो रही है. इफ इट इज टर्मिनेटिंग इन तमिलनाडु एंड द पंजाब आर द 2 states where the taxation even would happen. So Tamil Nadu government will actually collect the taxes on the consumption made in that state. Okay. Then supply on direction of third party. अब क्या हुआ जी? आपका क्लाइंट है दिल्ली में, दे से यू कि हमारा कोई नोन है गुड़गांव में, आप उनको सर्विस प्रोवाइड कर दो. अब आपके जो क्लाइंट है या आपके जो पार्टनर लेट्स से, उन्होंने आपको दे दिया कि आप गुड़गांव में सर्व कर दो. व्हाट वुड बी दी प्लेस ऑफ सप्लाई इन दैट केस? इट विल बी द प्लेस वेयर द सर्विसेज और द गुड्स हैव बीन सप्लाइड. मतलब अब यहाँ पे क्या हो गया? गुड़गांव हरियाणा में आपका टैक्स लगेगा, दिल्ली में आपका टैक्स नहीं लगेगा. Although you have been instructed from Delhi to send those goods or services to a person in Haryana. In that case, your destination would be, or the place of supply would be Haryana government, and you have to pay taxes accordingly. Where the movements are not required, जहाँ पे goods move कराने की जरूरत नहीं है, maybe in IPR or maybe any right which you are going to give, then the location of the goods at the time of the delivery of the recipient. Okay. Goods are assembled or installed, that is very clear where the goods are assembled or installed. If I am installing any machinery, let's say in West Bengal, Calcutta, so I have to pay the taxes there itself. I will not be paying taxes in Punjab. Then supply of services in general would be location of the recipient where the record or the address of the recipient is mentioned in the records. Otherwise it will be location of the supplier. ठीक है, इन्होंने बिल्कुल एक ओपन एंडेड एक चीज छोड़ दी कि अगर आपको उसका एड्रेस पता है सप्लायर का, तो वो आपका प्लेस ऑफ सप्लाई हो गया. अदरवाइज आपका खुद का जो एड्रेस है, दैट वुड बी द प्लेस ऑफ सप्लाई. लेट्स से मैं अगर चंडीगढ़ में बैठ के इन पंजाब आई एम सिटिंग हियर एंड आई एम गिविंग सर्विसेज टू समबडी इन मुंबई, वो महाराष्ट्र में मैं सर्विस दे रहा हूँ, तो यहाँ से क्या हुआ कि अगर मेरे पास उसका एड्रेस प्रॉपर एड्रेस है ऑन रिकॉर्ड एंड इफ दैट पर्सन इज रजिस्टर्ड, तब तो मेरा प्लेस ऑफ सप्लाई वुड बी महाराष्ट्र. अदरवाइज द प्लेस ऑफ सप्लाई वुड बी पंजाब. Okay. In other specific cases, place of supply of service have been provided. Now, what is the time of supply of goods? अब ये क्या है? Time of supply. Why is it necessary to determine what is the time of supply? Can anybody answer that? जरूरत क्या है कि हमें time of supply determine करनी पड़े?
Tax pay करना पड़ेगा।
Yes, sir.
The taxability, point of taxability.
Okay.
When
What
to-
else?
When to pay taxes?
हाँ जी.
Taxes pay कब करने पड़ेंगे जो लगाएंगे?
चलो that is one thing. और भी कुछ हो सकता है जहाँ पे हमें टाइम को कंसिडर करना पड़े. When we talk about time of supply of goods, like when there is a change in the financial year, let's say I have made a supply on 28th, and the goods have been received by the purchaser on let's say 5th of April. In which year are you going to pay the tax, or in which month are you going to pay the tax? So this is necessary to understand the time of supply routes, or maybe when the rates have changed. अभी recently जैसे कृषि कल्याण सेस आया था, तो उसमें उन्होंने बड़ी एम्बिग्यूटी थी रूल 7 में कि कब आप कृषि कल्याण सेस लेंगे नहीं लेंगे, उस पे भी they have to give the notification. So they have clarified in the GST law कि time of supply होगा कब, when you have to collect the taxes. It will be, there are 4 things. Earliest of removal of goods, when the goods have been removed. When the goods can be removed, we will see the date of removal. When the goods cannot be removed, the date on which the goods have been made available to the person. Let's say I am in Maharashtra itself, and there's a client in Punjab. He says that we want a machinery to be installed in Mumbai itself, Maharashtra, मेरी location पे चाहिए. Now I am not moving those goods. I have to install that. That is a permanent fixture which is going to be installed at that place. अब जब वो मैं install कर दूंगा, install करने के बाद, the moment I give the possession of the rights of that goods to my buyer, then it will be the time of supply. अगर goods removed हो सकते हैं, let's say for any FMCG product or any other product for that matter, if we are sending those goods, the date on which those goods have been removed will be the time of supply. Okay. Then the date on which the supplier issues the invoice. आप पहला तो हो गया डेट ऑफ रिमूवल, दूसरा हो गया आपका डेट ऑफ इनवॉइस, तीसरा हो गया आपका डेट ऑफ पेमेंट, और फोर्थ उन्होंने बोला है व्हेन द गुड्स आर शोन इन दी बुक्स ऑफ अकाउंट. ये 4 इवेंट आपको देखने. अर्लीस्ट ऑफ दीज, कोई भी चारों में से पहले हो गया, दैट वुड बी योर टाइम ऑफ सप्लाई. दिस वी हैव डन, आई हैव टेकन 4 illustrations for this. One is date of removal is let's say 30th June 2016. Date of invoice is 15 July. Then date of payment is 25th June, and date of entry in books of accounts is 7th July. What would be the time of supply? It would obviously be 25th of June. In next case, the date of removal is 20th June, invoice date is 15th July, date of payment is 25th June again, and the date of entry in the books is 7th July. So the time of supply would be 20th June 2016. Okay. Then again, here we have date of removal is 30th June. Then the date of invoice is 28th June. Then the date of payment is 1st July, and the date of entry in the books is 7th July. Now, what would be the date? It is 28th June because the date of invoice is the earliest one. In the next case, the date of removal is 30th June, whereas date of invoice is 15th July. The date of payment is 25th June, and the date of entry in books is 20th June. That is, the taxable event would be 20th of June.
What is the purpose of date of entry in books?
हाँ जी.
What is the purpose of date of entry in books?
सर अगर कोई और मेथड हमारा एस्टैब्लिश नहीं हो सकता, उन्होंने कहा जब भी आप बुक्स में रिकॉर्ड करेंगे हम वो डेट मान देंगे.
उसमें तो रिकॉर्ड या तो डेट ऑफ बिल ही होगा या डेट ऑफ बिल ही होगा, और
हाँ,
रिकॉर्डिंग
वही होगा सर, वही होगा. ये होता है ना कि if the taxpayer is trying to evade taxes, या कहता है कि मेरे को इनवॉइस ही नहीं है, then what? In that cases you have to.
इनवॉइस आया नहीं, इनवॉइस इशू नहीं किया.
नहीं इनवॉइस आया नहीं, या वो बोले कि इनवॉइस इशू नहीं किया, व्हाटएवर, दोनों तरफ से. तो दैट केस आल्सो. अब इसमें एक चीज ये ध्यान रखनी है, द इम्पोर्टेंट थिंग हियर इज जो एडवांसेस हैं दैट विल आल्सो बी टैक्सेबल अंडर जीएसटी लॉ. पहले ये सर्विसेज में होता था, अगर एडवांसेस सर्विसेज के लिए मेरे को एडवांस आ जाता था दैट वाज टैक्सेबल, बट इट इज न्यू फॉर द गुड्स. अगर मेरे गुड्स सप्लाई हो रहे हैं 1 month later but I have received the advance today, I have to pay GST on that.
What about if it is only 50% advance and 50%?
You have to pay tax on 50%.
50% at the time means if the rates change 50% old rate and 50% new rate.
हाँ
It will be like that.
that is वही जिस टाइम आपकी पेमेंट हो रही है when you are- yes.
See, invoicing जब होगी, invoicing will be on the date. तो उसमें तो वही रेट लगेगा जो उस दिन एप्लीकेबल है.
ठीक है
तो एडवांस वाले डेट पे अगर रेट डिफरेंट
नहीं सर उसमें इनवॉइस पे आप वो कैसे कर देंगे
तो मींस 50% पे रेट अलग लगाऊंगा 50 पे अलग लगाऊंगा.
नहीं सर आप फिक्स कर रहे हैं अगर लेट्स से मैंने आई परचेज द गुड्स वर्थ रुपीज 1 लाख ठीक है उसमें से मैं 50,000 की पेमेंट मैं अभी कर रहा हूँ एंड द मोमेंट आई द गुड्स आर डिलीवर्ड टू मी वो लेट्स से कि उसका प्राइस 1,10,000 ठीक है तो
I'm not talking about the rate. I'm talking about the rate of GST. If
Achha.
that changes, then what happens?
अच्छा rate of GST the rate of GST changes then you have to pay at the old rate and the new rate
50% old rate, 50% new rate.
that is very clear if you are taking the advance let's say you have taken the advance on 1st of July and on 15th of July the rates of GST have changed then you will be paying the GST at the old rate on the advances you have taken on 1st of July but any advance or any amount received after 15th of July will be taxable at the new rates that is very clear sir ये सर अभी कृषि कल्याण में ये सारी प्रॉब्लम आई थी they have made it very clear in this now in the case of continuous supply of goods in case of continuous supply of goods where successive statements of accounts or successive payments are involved time of supply shall be the date of expiry of the period yes
अगर एडवांस वापस करना पड़ जाए तो
सर एडवांस अगर आपको वापस करना है फॉर दैट पर्टिकुलर मंथ यू विल शो दैट ईदर इन योर रिटर्न या तो आप एक काम करिए कि रिटर्न भरने से पहले आप उसका डेबिट क्रेडिट नोट जो भी है वो आप इशू कर दीजिए देन इट विल बी रेक्टिफाइड अदरवाइज इफ यू हैव नॉट इशूड डेबिट क्रेडिट नोट दैट यू कैन डू इवन आफ्टर फाइलिंग योर रिटर्न बिफोर 30th of September फ्रॉम द एंड ऑफ द फाइनेंशियल ईयर आप वो डेबिट क्रेडिट नोट आप इशू करें वो आपका रिवर्स होगा ठीक है जी इन केस ऑफ कॉन्टिन्यूअस सप्लाई ऑफ गुड्स where successive statements of accounts or successive payments are involved the time of supply shall be the date of expiry of the period to which such successive statements of accounts or successive payments relate अब ये क्या है सर in case of continuous supply where the successive statements of accounts or the successive payments are involved when I'm in contract with somebody and I'm supplying goods on the continuous basis okay then it says the time of supply shall be the date of expiry of the period to which such successive statements or the successive payment relate मतलब जिस पीरियड जिस टाइम पे मेरा ये कॉन्ट्रैक्ट एक्सपायर हो गया उस वक्त हम ये चेक करेंगे कि ये किस पीरियड से रिलेटेड था देन दैट पीरियड वुड बी माय टाइम ऑफ सप्लाई आप उससे पहले डिटरमाइन अगर मैं सपोजली इफ आई एंटर इनटू अ कॉन्ट्रैक्ट माय कॉन्ट्रैक्ट हैज बीन एंटर्ड ऑन लेट्स से 1st of July and it has been stretched over for 3 months July August and September and the expiry date of that is 30th of September so then my time of supply would be 30th of September in case of continuous supply अब इसका क्या पैरामीटर है इट इज वेरी ओपन एंडेड स्टेटमेंट अगर मेरी दो सप्लाई भी हो रही है मैं दो पेमेंट भी कर रहा हूँ कैन आई कवर माई सेल्फ इन दिस प्रोविजन इट इज स्टिल टू बी क्लैरिफाइड बाय द बोर्ड अभी इसके ऊपर इन्होंने कुछ भी नहीं बोला है इफ देयर आर नो सक्सेसिव स्टेटमेंट्स ऑफ अकाउंट द डेट ऑफ इशू ऑफ द इनवॉइस और द डेट ऑफ रिसीट ऑफ द पेमेंट व्हिचएवर इज अर्लियर शैल बी द टाइम ऑफ सप्लाई अगर मेरी सक्सेसिव नहीं है वही फिर ये वापस आ गए उसमें बोला कि डेट ऑफ इनवॉइस और द डेट ऑफ पेमेंट व्हिचएवर इज अर्लियर ठीक है जी
कॉन्ट्रैक्ट मोर देन 1 ईयर
Yes, ma'am.
अगर कॉन्ट्रैक्ट है मोर देन 1 फाइनेंशियल ईयर
constant more than one financial year है you will take it in the year in which the contract has expired
March the
That-
contract date
ये can you give me an example the contract date
जैसे कि हमने आर कॉन्ट्रैक्ट है इट विल कंटिन्यू अप टू 4 or 5 years in construction contracts
in that case you have to determine in that you are saying that the contract is for 4 to 5 years continuous 4-5 years and then you are in that case ma'am we need a clarification because as far as this section is concerned it says the expiry date would be the time of supply the rates which is applicable at the time of basically इन्होंने किया गया मैं I'll tell you if I enter into a contract today ठीक है मैंने आज contract कर लिया stretches over 5 years what they have said is कि जिस दिन वो कॉन्ट्रैक्ट एक्सपायर होगा ना उस दिन जो रेट है जीएसटी का वो आपको पे करना है सिंपल एज दैट
इसमें सक्सेसिव पेमेंट्स भी आएगी ना और सक्सेसिव पेमेंट्स रेट से फॉर एग्जांपल अगर 5 साल का काम है और मेरे को क्वार्टरली बेसिस से मंथली बेसिस के ऊपर पेमेंट रिसीव कर दी है तो what I believe they may be prescribing on these words कि जब जब मेरे पास पेमेंट्स आएगी जब जब जो रेट होगा मैं उसके कॉरेस्पॉन्डिंगली पेमेंट कर दूंगा। रीजन भी अगर 4 या 5 साल का काम है तो कभी भी हमें पता नहीं चल सकती जीएसटी जैसा सर्विस टैक्स की हम बात कर लें तो 12.36 से 15 तक पहुंच चुका है। इट मीन्स अपना जीएसटी भी 18 से 36% तक पहुंच गए। नो वन विल बी रेडी टू पे जीएसटी एट द रेट ऑफ हाई रेट। तो बट आई बिलीव देयर मे बी स्ट्रेस ऑन द सक्सेसिव पेमेंट्स। जैसे जैसे मेरे पास पेमेंट आएगी in case of continuous contract I will pay GST at the rate of the
No sir, it says shall be the date of the expiry of the period of which such successive statement of account or successive payment to date.
or successive payment. I believe so. I may be wrong. I haven't read the GST, but
There could be this another inference which you can draw from this, that if the payments have been received successively, and let's say if I am receiving the payment for this financial year and my contract is extending,
for
No, no sir.
There's a clarity
Earliest of वो था उसमें that was not a continuous supply of goods. इसमें continuous supply of goods में date of expiry of period है to be successive statement. तो वो date of expiry of period कौन सा देगा?
the date of expiry of period is, ma'am, it is the contract period which is mentioned there.
Contract तो
इसमें obviously there are two interpretations which you can find out. एक तो मैं I can pay the taxes at the expiry of the contract, or maybe when I am receiving the payments. There are two things which I can infer out of this.
but it is not mentioned as receiving the payment.
No, it says the time of supply shall be the date of expiry of the period to which such successive statement of accounts or successive payment relate. If I am receiving, let's say if I enter into a contract today, if I receive a payment, let's say after 4 years or 3 years, then I have to pay the taxes at the rate which were applicable for that particular contract period. So that could be one consideration.
Construction contract में तो date of payment वो देखना पड़ेगा.
There could be a final difference between the final price. The first say in case of continuous supplies of goods, there is successive statement of accounts. So by statement of account, it could be like when we just simply raise debit or credit goods. Like if we are supplying goods, I have not raised an invoice, but I just raised a debit.
Okay.
That will be counted as statement of account.
Yes, that is counted.
So, but if in a case I am raising invoice
Yes.
for the past contract performed and I am getting payment, then the prevailing GST rate will go.
So that would be the one inference we can draw. Yes, that would be inference we can draw, that if the contract is stretched over, let's say 3-4 years, the tax rate which are applicable, let's say if I'm making a payment for July to September, but my contract is to finish on 31st of March. So my rate of taxes which would be levied would be for July till September. What are the rates which were applicable in July to September would be charged under this. This is an ambiguous section. We have to wait for the clarity on this. Okay. Then there's something called reverse charge. अब reverse charge service tax में we are very familiar with reverse charge, but TSR इस बार अब goods में भी आ गया, GST में भी. अब ये इन्होंने क्या लेके आए हैं इसमें, ये बोलते हैं in case of supply in respect of which taxes paid or liable to be paid on reverse charge basis, the time of supply shall be the earliest of the date of receipt of goods, or the date on which the payment is made, or the date of receipt of invoice, or the date of debit in the books of accounts. तो अभी ये क्या रिवर्स चार्ज में इन्होंने गुड्स को भी कवर कर दिया है. अर्लियर इट वाज कवर्ड फॉर सर्विस टैक्स, बट अंडर गुड्स दे हैव कवर्ड रिवर्स चार्ज, दे हैव ब्रॉट इन रिवर्स चार्ज फॉर जीएसटी आल्सो. अब इसमें सर गुड्स कौन कौन से कवर होंगे, दैट हैज टू बी प्रिस्क्राइब्ड एज इट. We are still waiting for the government to come out with a schedule or maybe an extra with this act. Now, what is the time of supply for service? We were talking about the time of supply for goods. What is the time of supply for service in cases where the invoice is issued in the prescribed time, the earliest of date of invoice or the date of receipt of payment, whichever is earlier. In cases where the tax has not been issued on time, then the earliest of date of completion of the provision of service or the date of receipt of payment, whichever is earlier. अब इसमें क्या है सर, prescribed time जैसे हमारा service tax में it says that this invoice has to be raised within 14 days. So यहाँ पे अगर वो एक condition लेके आ जाते हैं कि you have to raise the invoice within so much time, then you will be covered under the first provision. Otherwise, you will be covered by the second provision. The date on which the receipt recipient shows the receipt of service in his books of account in case where the provisions of clause 1 and clause 2 are not applying. अगर मैंने invoice बिल्कुल ही issue नहीं किया है, then the date of receipt of service which have been mentioned in the books of accounts will be the time of supply of service. Now, at what value do I need to pay GST? It will be levied on the transaction value. Now, what is the transaction value? पहला तो simple है sir, any amount actually paid or payable. अब उसके अंदर क्या क्या ऐड करेंगे आप? Amount paid by the recipient on behalf of the supplier, this is clear. Value of goods or services supplied directly or indirectly by the recipient reduced by the amount paid by the supplier. Royalties, license, any taxes other than IGST, CGST, SGST, any incidental expenses will be added. Subsidies linked to the supply of goods will be added, and any discount or incentive after the supply has been effected, discount established by the contract and which is known before the supply shall not be included. अब क्या हुआ सर, इसने क्या बोला? Any discount or incentive after the supply has been effected. अब ये मेरे पास कोई कस्टमर आया, मैंने उनको सेल कर दिया on let's say approval basis या on credit I have sold that goods. If that person comes up with the payment, early payment to me, I give him a discount. That discount, cash discount, will not be covered under GST. You will not get benefit out of that. You have to add that discount. Trade discount आपने सेल करने से पहले जो दिया है, that would be allowed as expense or as a deduction. Otherwise, you will not be allowed to take the benefit of discount. That means cash discount आप आगे से देना बंद कर दीजिए. Then less discounts allowed in the normal course of trade practice before the supply is effected, and the same is duly recorded in the invoice. अब सर इसमें भी ambiguity है. इन्होंने बोल दिया discounts allowed in the normal course of trade. मैं अपनी दुकान संडे को खोलता हूँ, मैं कहता हूँ जी संडे को मैं 20% डिस्काउंट दूंगा. Is that the normal course of trade? मेरे पास कोई कस्टमर आ गया, I liked her face, मैंने बोल दिया 50% डिस्काउंट आपको दे दिया. Is that the normal course of trade? Somebody known from my family comes in and they ask for the discount, I give them the discount. Is this the normal course of trade? But it is a very open-ended statement. We need to judge whether that is in the normal course of trade or not. तो अभी इसमें कैसे जज करेंगे? They have just written it openly. और उसके बाद भी एक प्रोविजन उन्होंने डाल दिया कि if the assessing officer has the reasonable reasons to doubt the transaction value, he can opt for the valuation rule. अब बताओ मतलब बिजनेसमैन कहाँ जाए? वो बोलता है जी मैं डिस्काउंट दे रहा हूँ, उसके बाद assessing proper officer जो है that will say कि this discount is not legitimate and this should not be given. वो वहाँ से आपको valuation rules में ले जाएगा. So this is something very open-ended that government should come up with, and it should be clear. What do you mean by a normal course of trade? Okay, and then it says before the supply is effected, and the same is duly recorded in the invoice. Let's supposedly it says that it should be recorded in the invoice. If I don't record in the invoice, then I will not be allowed this benefit. Or if the invoice is amended later on, then what? So there are different things. तो आप इसमें तो आप ये करिए कि जब आपके पास कस्टमर आया, आप क्रेडिट पे सेल कर रहे हैं, कैश डिस्काउंट तो आपको अलाउड है नहीं, ठीक है? उसको आप टेम्परेरी इनवॉइस दे दीजिए विद इन दैट सेम मंथ. आप उसको 15 दिन का टाइम दीजिए पेमेंट करने के लिए. इफ ही इज मेकिंग दैट पेमेंट इन दी बिफोर योर टाइम पीरियड, उसको दूसरा इनवॉइस इशू कर दीजिए. व्हाई यू आर मेकिंग एन दिस टैक्स इनवॉइस एट द टाइम ऑफ सेल? उस टाइम पे करने की जरूरत ही नहीं है. So this is very open-ended statement. यहाँ पे there is so many scope of you can interfere. इसको जैसे मर्जी इंटरप्रेट करते जाओ. Then applicability of valuation rules. Valuation rules क्या है सर? Section 15 subsection 4 क्या कहता है? Value of the supply of goods and or services in the following situation, which cannot be valued as per the transaction value which we have just discussed, shall be determined as per the GST valuation rules 2016. कौन सी है सर? The consideration whether paid or payable is not in money wholly or partly. कुछ भी अगर consideration कुछ भी, जैसे हमने barter की बात करी थी, barter is taxable supply. Barter will be charged to GST. In that case, what will you do? You will come to the valuation rules and see whether what would be the consideration or the transaction value for that purpose. Okay. The supplier and the recipient of the supply are related. When the supply and the supplier are related, जब आप जिसको आप सप्लाई कर रहे हैं एंड दी सप्लायर बोथ ऑफ देम आर रिलेटेड, दैट वुड बी कवर्ड अंडर दिस प्रोविजन. अब रिलेटेड कौन है सर? जो हमारे अकाउंटिंग स्टैंडर्ड में मेंशन्ड है. सिंपल, जो हमारे अकाउंटिंग स्टैंडर्ड में हमारी रिलेटेड पार्टीज आती हैं वही हमारे यहाँ पे रिलेटेड पार्टीज हैं. इफ यू कैन make them related under those accounting standards, that will be covered by the GST valuation rules. There is a reason to doubt the truth or accuracy of the transaction value declared by the supplier. अब सर ये किस बेसिस पे डाउट करेंगे ये तो पता नहीं. तो इसका मतलब इन्होंने ये कर दिया कि proper officer has all the rights to reject the transaction value or the books of accounts and go with his own assessment. उसके ऊपर से इन्होंने best judgment assessment डाल दी इसमें. तो इसका मतलब तो बॉल इज इन द कोर्ट ऑफ द प्रॉपर ऑफिसर, वही करेगा जो भी करेगा, हम तो कुछ कर ही नहीं सकते. तो ऑब्वियसली दिस इज वेरी ओपन एंडेड स्टेटमेंट. रीजनेबल डाउट, व्हाट डू यू मीन बाय रीजन टू डाउट? दिस इज वेरी ओपन एंडेड स्टेटमेंट दैट बिजनेस ट्रांजैक्शन अंडरटेकन बाय अ प्योर एजेंट, मनी चेंजर, इंश्योरर और ट्रैवल एजेंट एंड डिस्ट्रीब्यूटर और सेलिंग एजेंट. ओके, देन such other supplies as may be notified by the center or the state government.
Keshav, can you hold on this
Yeah.
last? This business transaction undertaken by
Which one, ma'am?
pure agent, money
Business
changer.
transaction undertaken by the pure agent, money changer, insurer, air travel agent and distributor or selling agent of lottery.
इनके जो है valuation rules में there are high chances कि
Can you use the mic, please?
what I meant to say, the transactions undertaken by these people, there are high chances.
हाँ, that will be covered under valuation rules.
Valuation rules.
आपको valuation rules के लिए इसके ऊपर आना पड़ेगा. That will be covering on the next session. That will be taken by Mr. R.K. Asija. He is an advocate working with Lakshmi Kumar. She is an attorney, and his expertise in GST itself. So he'll be taking the session on supply, and he'll be touching upon what are valuation rules, how to determine, and all that. Today being the overview and the theme presentation, I will not be going into the details of that.
Sir, one minute. Whether foreign currency is including the definition of money?
I didn't get you. Whether
Foreign currency is included in the definition of money?
foreign currency,
Because money is not included in the definition of services.
yes, foreign currency would be covered under the definition of money, but the service component or any commission or any amount charged over and above the exchange rate, that would be covered under GST. Okay.
But in case currency has changed, maybe if I convert the currency from USD to INR, so that would be covered under GST.
Currency exchange activity is covered under GST, sir. The consideration, the transaction value would be the commission amount. Input tax credit under GST law. A person who has applied for the registration under the Act within 30 days from the date on which he becomes liable to register and he has been granted registration shall be entitled to take credit on input tax in respect of inputs held in the stock on the day immediately preceding the date from which he becomes liable to pay taxes. सर यहाँ पे important word है input. सिर्फ inputs का credit मिलेगा सर. इनपुट सर्विसेज का नहीं मिलेगा, कैपिटल गुड्स का नहीं मिलेगा, किसी और चीज का आपको क्रेडिट नहीं मिलेगा, सिर्फ इनपुट का मिलेगा. एंड दैट टू यू हैव टू गेट इट रजिस्टर्ड विद इन द 30 days within the prescribed time. If you are not getting the registered in the prescribed time, you will not be able to get the inbuilt credit of that input. अब इसके अंदर एक एग्जांपल लेते हैं. Date on which he was liable to get registered was 1st July. The date on which the person liable to tax is, let's say, 5th July. That is, on 5th July his turnover crosses 10 lakhs, and then the date of application is also 10th July. Date of grant of registration is 10th July. Let me tell you, under GST the date of application would be deemed to be the date of registration. अगर आपकी registration बाद में भी हो रही है, it will be deemed to have been granted from that date, from the date of application. Okay, the date from which credit of input lying in the stock is allowed, that is 4th of July. In the next case, 1st July को आपका टर्नओवर इंक्रीज हुआ फॉर रजिस्ट्रेशन 4 लाख या 9 लाख से ज्यादा. 5 जुलाई को आपका 10 लाख से ज्यादा हो गया. डेट ऑफ एप्लीकेशन इज 28 जुलाई. डेट ऑफ रजिस्ट्रेशन इज 28 जुलाई. देन आपको 4 जुलाई से डेट प्रीसीडिंग दी डेट ऑफ पर्सन लायबल टू पे टैक्स. तो 4 जुलाई का आपको जो भी इनपुट आपके पास पड़ा दैट वुड बी अलाउड. ठीक है, बिकॉज आप 30 डेज के अंदर अंदर कर रहे हैं. नाउ इन द नेक्स्ट केस इट सेज you have your taxable turnover exceeds 9 lakhs on 1st July, your turnover exceeds 10 lakhs on 5th July, then it says the date of application is 4th August, that is after 30 days, and the registration has been granted after on 12th of August. In this case, you will be allowed to take the credit of inputs lying on 11th of August. That is 1 day prior to the on the close of the day. एक 12 को मेरे को रजिस्ट्रेशन हुआ तो 11 की क्लोज पे मेरे पास जो भी इनपुट्स हैं उसका क्रेडिट मेरे को मिल जाएगा. ओके, अब यहाँ पे ध्यान ये रखना है कि रजिस्ट्रेशन एज वेल एज द एप्लीकेशन both of them has to be within 30 days. If I have applied, let's say मैं second case में लेता हूँ, if I have applied on 28th of July and my registration has been granted afterward, let's say 10th of August, then my credit would be allowed from 9th of August only. I will not be allowed the credit from the date from which I was taxable. Okay, because it says the word uses and. It says on which he becomes liable to registration and he has been granted such registration shall be entitled to take the credit of input. Okay. अब conditions क्या है input tax credit claim करने की? Input tax credit can be claimed, can be availed within 1 year from the tax invoice. Proportionate credit shall be allowed where the inputs are partially used for the purpose of business or exempted supply. ठीक है? Then the person should be in possession of the tax invoice. If you don't have the tax invoice, you will not be able to claim the input tax credit. Then he should have received the goods and services. Then tax should have been actually paid either in cash or owed output tax credit admissible. अब सर ये क्या है? ये बहुत डेंजरस काम है. इन्होंने बोल दिया कि tax should have been paid. If I am purchased from a supplier, let's say my supplier was situated in Mumbai, मैंने उससे कुछ purchase कर लिया and I am in Punjab, मैंने उसको tax pay कर दिया. अब जब मैंने उसको tax pay कर दिया, मेरी ड्यूटी पूरी हो गई. I have paid the taxes to that person. But due to this clause, I will not be allowed input tax credit till that time my supplier has deposited it with the government. अब मेरा ओनस ये भी आ गया कि मैं वो भी देखूं कि वो डिपॉजिट आगे कराता है कि नहीं कराता गवर्नमेंट को.
But how do we keep a tab on that?
Yes.
But how do we keep a tab on that?
Obviously we cannot keep a tab. अगर एक दो सप्लायर हो फिर भी चलो चल जाता है. Think about a company which has 10,000 suppliers. आपने अपने tax liability पे कर दिया, but that person has not paid it further. Then also you are caught. So this is very unfair on the part of the taxpayer who has discharged his liability by form of taxes on his purchases. So
Same
I
is
hope-
applicable in the VAT too.
yes.
Same provision applicable in the VAT. Rana VAT or any other.
ये वो उसमें होंगे सर, बट इसमें तो आप जब आप पैन इंडिया बेसिस पे बात कर रहे हैं तो इट इज नॉट पॉसिबल टू कीप अ टैब कि उसने जमा कराया नहीं कराया. और उसके बाद एक और चीज मैं आपको बताता हूँ. 29 सेक्शन के अंदर इन्होंने एक प्रोविजन डाल दिया मिसमैच का. मतलब अगर मैं अपनी रिटर्न भर रहा हूँ एज अ आउटवर्ड सप्लायर एंड इनवर्ड सप्लायर इज फाइलिंग इट्स ओन रिटर्न, दोनों मैच करेंगे. अब दोनों जब मैच करेंगे दोनों के बीच में जो भी डिस्टिंक्शन आएगा वो हम दोनों को बताया जाएगा, सर दिस इज द डिस्टिंक्शन बिटवीन बोथ ऑफ योर्स रिटर्न. उसको रेक्टिफाई कर लो 15 दिन में, नहीं करोगे जेल हो जाएगी. आई मीन बंदा कह रहे तो करेगा आप ट्रांजेक्शन. यस सर.
That may be they are doing in Punjab and all I've seen this. It's
Same
already
thing is
नहीं वो ठीक है, मतलब इसके अंदर when you are
नहीं है, that's an additional thing.
क्या? सर आएगा, बट जब आप पैन इंडिया लॉ की बात करते हैं मतलब एज ए सीए तो सर मैं तो रिकंसिलिएशन में लगा रहा हूँ.
केसेस आते हैं, स्टॉकिस्ट कहते हैं कि सर ये आपकी रिटर्न गलत फाइल हुई है, हमने आपने क्रेडिट नोट दिया, आपने कुछ फाइल किया, हमने कुछ फाइल की हुई है, अब बताओ क्या करें.
बिल्कुल. तो मतलब ये बात है कि सीए का तो काम रिकंसिलिएशन में लगने वाला है. एक बंदा तो रिकंसिलिएशन में लगा.
एक नहीं बहुत बच्चे हैं.
बट उसमें आई डोंट नो व्हाई दे मेक सच अ प्रोविजन. उसके बाद मिसमैच का भी प्रोविजन है. उसके अंदर बोथ द सप्लायर एज वेल एज द परचेजर बोथ ऑफ देम आर लायबल. हाउ कैन दे मेक सच अ ड्रैकोनियन प्रोविजन? पता नहीं. मतलब आर दे एक्चुअली गोइंग टुवर्ड्स ईज ऑफ डूइंग बिजनेस? वी डोंट नो. देन ही हैज फर्निश्ड द रिटर्न अंडर सेक्शन 27 में उसकी रिटर्न फाइल करना जरूरी है, तभी आपको इनपुट टैक्स क्रेडिट मिलेगा. अब सिर्फ रजिस्ट्रेशन का मैंने बता दिया. जब आपकी टर्नओवर 4 लाख से ज्यादा इन केस ऑफ सिक्किम एंड नॉर्थ ईस्ट स्टेट्स एंड इन अदर स्टेट्स इज एक्सीडिंग 9 lakhs, you have to get yourself registered. But there are few persons, those who have to get registered even if their turnover is below the limit of 9 lakhs or 4 lakhs. अब वो कौन है जो interstate supply कर रहे हैं? Casual taxable person. अब casual taxable person कौन है सर? Casual taxable person is one which wants to do his supply of goods or he wants to supply services in a particular state and is not registered with any other state. मतलब casually मैं आज उठा मैं कहता हूँ यार ठीक है 20 दिन के लिए काम करते हैं, तो I am a casual supplier, मेरे को registration लेना पड़ेगा, ठीक है? भाई इसमें इन्होंने डाल दिया नॉन रेजिडेंट सप्लायर भी इसके अंदर कवर्ड है. अब नॉन रेजिडेंट सप्लायर क्या होता है सर? आई एम रजिस्टर्ड विद लेट्स से हरियाणा और मैं कहता हूँ मेरे को तमिलनाडु में काम करना है, तो आई एम रजिस्टर्ड विद वन पर्टिकुलर स्टेट, then I am getting the registration done with some other state. That is a non-resident supplier. That I am registered with the GST law, but for that particular state I am not non-resident. So I will be covered under non-resident supplier category. Okay. Then person liable to tax under reverse charge. अब reverse charge के अंदर से जो इन्होंने provision डाला है, reverse charge में basically the local authorities, governments and the administrations are covered. अभी उन्होंने कोई prescribe नहीं किया है who all else will be covered other than the government. So they have to take the registration. Non-resident taxable supplier, we have already talked about it. Person required to deduct tax under section 37, that is government, local authority, etc. सर अब यहाँ पे एक और चीज आ गई है, इन्होंने सेक्शन 37 में TDS का प्रोविजन डाल दिया है. अब TDS क्या है कि अगर सप्लाईज गवर्नमेंट के ऑफिस की है या गवर्नमेंट अथॉरिटीज की है and it is exceeding 10 lakhs, 1% TDS will be deducted on the payment made to you. तो वो गवर्नमेंट की अलग से एक रिटर्न जाएगी, उसका आपको बेनिफिट मिलेगा, वो आपकी रिटर्न के अंदर ऑटो पॉपुलेट हो जाएगा. दैट विल बी कवर्ड अंडर द रिटर्न्स टॉपिक व्हेन वी विल टॉक अबाउट इन दैट सेशन. ओके. देन एजेंट्स और अदर पर्सन सप्लाइंग ऑन बिहाफ ऑफ अदर्स, एजेंट्स हैव टू कंपल्सरीली रजिस्टर देमसेल्व्स. देन इनपुट सर्विस डिस्ट्रीब्यूटर, वी आर अवेयर अबाउट इनपुट सर्विस डिस्ट्रीब्यूटर्स इन सर्विस टैक्स. यहाँ पे गुड्स के लिए भी इनपुट टैक्स डिस्ट्रीब्यूटर आ जाएगा. ISC यहाँ पे भी है. ओके. देन अ पर्सन हु सप्लाई गुड्स एंड और सर्विसेज अदर देन ब्रांडेड सर्विसेज थ्रू इलेक्ट्रॉनिक कॉमर्स ऑपरेटर. सर आप अगर कोई साइट बना रहे हैं, कोई यू आर डूइंग ई कॉमर्स बिजनेस, you have to get registration done under this act. And in fact, I'll tell you, there is a proper chapter, there is a separate chapter on e-commerce, and they have made a very wide implications. एक तो अभी इन्होंने they have brought the levy under GST also. एक अभी मेरे ख्याल से equalization levy भी आया, वो भी is leviable on e-commerce. So they're actually heading towards tapping the e-commerce sector. Then electronic commerce operator, then aggregator supplying under his brand name. Okay, and then any other person as may be notified by the government. Now the returns under GST. ये समझ लीजिए सर, हर एक असेसी को एक साल के अंदर 37 रिटर्न्स फाइल करनी है, बट उसके साथ में ऑल अदर रिटर्न्स will obviously be gone away. आपकी VAT चली गई, then excise returns are gone away, then service tax returns are gone away. So 37 returns you have to file in a year. That is 3 returns a month and 1 annual return. GSTR1 is basically for the person who is making the outward supply. He has to file by 10th of the next month. GSTR2 is for the inward supplier. अब वो जब GSTR2 भरेगा बंदा, मैं बता दूं जो डेटा एंट्री होगी वो सिर्फ GSTR1 में होगा. GSTR2 person will get the auto populated data. अगर मैं इनपुट डाल रहा हूँ, मैं ये कहता हूँ कि if I have purchased or I have made an outward supply to let's say XYZ Limited. अब XYZ Limited is an inward supplier. That person will file its return on 15. जब 15 को वो अपनी रिटर्न फाइल करेंगे, उनकी रिटर्न में ऑटो पॉपुलेट हो जाएगा that they have purchased the goods from Keshwakar. मेरा वहाँ पे नंबर ऑटोमेटिकली आ जाएगा. If there is any changes or if there are any amendments to be made, that person will make that amendment in 2 days, and that amendment will be intimated to me accordingly. And then on 20th of that month, I'll be filing a combined return of my outward supply and my inward supply. In that return, I will rectify any differences or the issues raised by my inward supplier. Okay, तो तभी यहाँ पे मतलब इन्होंने सारा ऑटोमेटेड सिस्टम बना दिया है. कहीं पे भी ये गलती हुई उन्हें कैच होल्ड ऑफ इट. Then GSTR3 is a monthly return other than the compounding taxpayer. Then GSTR4 is the quarterly return for the compounding taxpayer. Obviously जो छोटा taxpayer है उसको उन्होंने एक benefit दे दिया कि monthly return नहीं फाइल करेंगे आप quarterly फाइल करेंगे. Then non-resident taxpayer has to file GSTR5. GSTR 6 for is the IST, and GSTR 7 is for the tax deductors. Tax deductors are who the government and the local authorities. For the payments exceeding 10 lakhs, they will charge tax at 1%. Then we have something called GSTR 8. GSTR 8 is the annual return which has to be filed at the end of the year by 31st of December. There are assessments. I will not be touching upon the assessments because it's a wide topic in itself, and the faculty which is coming for this is Advocate Bipin Garg. He'll be coming from Delhi, and he has been doing this assessments and litigation with appellate tribunals in Delhi itself for last 30-40 years, and he'll be taking the session on assessments. Okay. Now, what are the several issues in transition provisions? When we are transiting from the earlier law to the new law, what are the issues which are going to face? One is the carry forward of Senvet credit. अब Senvet credit मेरा अगर let's say I am getting registered under GST, तो मेरा पुराना Senvet का क्या होगा? मैं इसमें आपको I'll give you the brief what is going to happen. Otherwise, it will be covered by the faculty. Will be taking the session on this. Carry forward of Senvet credit, इसमें क्या होगा? Whatever Senvet credit you have shown in your earlier return of the earlier laws will be carried forward under this GST law. जो आपने बैक में आपने रिटर्न जो लेटेस्ट फाइल करी है on the appointed date is on the date which this act will be enforced. तो उस डेट से पहले जो भी आपने रिटर्न फाइल करी है उसमें जो भी आपका इनपुट है इनपुट क्रेडिट है that will be carried forward under GST. Then unavailed Senvet credit on capital goods. Any unavailed Senvet credit on the capital goods, you have to declare those capital goods on the appointed date when the act comes into force. You have to file a information, or you have to inform the department what all capital goods you are seeking for your this input credit on those. Senvet credit in respect of stocks held in the date of enactment. What would happen on the stocks which are held? It will the same. It will be carried from the old the VAT laws and the service tax laws. Okay. Senvet credit issues for taxpayers covered under the composition scheme. अब यहाँ पे सर इशू ये आने वाला है कि पुरानी स्कीम में let's say for service tax purpose my turnover was exceeding 10 lakhs. वहाँ पे मेरे को कोई भी composition का benefit नहीं है, कुछ नहीं है. But when I come into GST, I can opt for composition scheme. तो उस केस में मेरा Senvet का क्या होगा? Because when I am coming to composition scheme, I am not allowed any Senvet credit. कोई मेरे को input नहीं मिलता है, कुछ नहीं मिलता है. Because I move out of the tax credit chain. तभी उस केसेस में क्या होगा? That would be covered under transition provision. There is a separate chapter altogether in the GST model law. Okay, Senvet credit in case of job worker. Then revision of prices after the enactment of GST. सर मैंने GST enforce होने से पहले सप्लाई कर दिया, मेरी पेमेंट भी आ गई कुछ, but after the GST was enforced, my prices of the goods have increased or might have decreased. तो उस केसेस में क्या होगा? That we will be covering in transition provision. Then the fund pendings in the earlier law, that is obviously we are going to do. Issues relating to continuous supply of goods and services, issue of tax in goods lying with the agent, then credit distribution of service tax by input service distributor, and treatment of long-term construction of works contract. सर जो जॉब वर्कर के पास है या कोई मेरे एजेंट के पास है या कोई एनी थर्ड पर्सन विच इज रिलेटेड टू मी, उसके लिए तो आई हैव टू फाइल अ डिक्लेरेशन विद द डिपार्टमेंट that these are the my supplies which are lying with my agent, and simultaneously my agent or my job worker will also give a declaration that these are the goods I have procured from the principal supplier, and on those basis the input credit shall be allowed. I am not taking you through the details of this because it will take so much of time. I will do it in the separate session itself. Now few illustrations to understand the implication of GST. First illustration, where there is an intrastate supply of goods and services. Let's say ABC Limited, having registered office in Delhi, makes a supply of 15 lakhs to XYZ Limited, which has the office in Delhi itself, and XYZ Limited further sells goods to its customer in Delhi only for rupees 18 lakhs. What would be the implication under GST? ABC Limited की ट्रांजेक्शन वैल्यू सिर्फ 15 lakhs हो गई. We are not considering the other factors जो हमने ट्रांजेक्शन वैल्यू में देखा. Now, just because it is an intra-state supply, taking care of section 7 of CGST Act, अगर हम उसको लगाते हैं तो ये मेरा इंट्रा-स्टेट सप्लाई है, इसके ऊपर मेरा क्या क्या लगेगा, CGST लगेगा और SGST लगेगा, उसके ऊपर मैंने 9%, looking at the 18% which was announced by the Arvind Subramaniam committee, उसके हिसाब से I made the calculation. So CGST is at 9%, SGST at 9%, that is 1,35,000, and the amount to be paid to the government is 135. Then XYZ Limited की transaction value क्या होगी sir? 18 lakhs. अब 18 lakhs पे 9%, 162, he will take the credit, input credit of the purchases, that is 135. The balance 27 he has to pay. This is simple enough. Then interstate purchases followed by intra-state supply. Then Mrs. ABC Limited, having registered business premises in Chandigarh, makes a supply to XYZ Limited in Delhi. Further, XYZ Limited sells it to the customer in Delhi itself for 18 lakhs. What would be the implication of GST? अब ABC Limited का तो सर हमने कहा कि ये interstate supply कर रहा है, तो इसके ऊपर IGST लगेगा, CGST और SGST तो नहीं लगेगा. IGST लगा 18% पे, that would come to 2,70,000, and that ABC Limited will pay to the central government. अब जब XYZ Limited की बात आई, XYZ Limited had made an intra-state supply, तो वहाँ पे IGST का कोई मतलब नहीं है, वो CGST और SGST लगेगा as per section 7. तो उसने 162 लगा दिया. Thereafter, input tax rate में ध्यान से देखना, CGST के against I have set off 1,62,000. Just because the papers released by the government clearly says that the benefit of IGST input credit would be first available against IGST, then CGST and then SGST. और इसी प्रोसीजर में इसी प्रायोरिटी पे आप यूज करेंगे. पहले IGST के अगेंस्ट, फिर CGST के अगेंस्ट और फिर SGST के अगेंस्ट. तो सबसे पहले मैं CGST के अगेंस्ट मैंने सेट ऑफ किया. Then I'm left with the balance of 1,08,000, that is 270 minus 162. फिर उसको मैंने SGST के साथ सेट ऑफ कर दिया. And the balance, whatever SGST was payable, I will pay to the state government. Next, intra-state purchase and interstate supply. I have made purchase from the local vendor, whereas I am selling the goods to the person outside my state. What will happen in that case? ABC Limited, having the office in Delhi, have supplied to XYZ Limited in Delhi itself, whereas XYZ Limited had supplied to its customer in Kerala for 18 lakhs. What would be the tax implication? अब ABC Limited का तो सिंपल है सर, CGST लग जाएगा, SGST लग जाएगा. जब XYZ Limited की बात आएगी, XYZ Limited is making an interstate supply, so we will cover it by section 4 of IGST Act. तो जब हमने IGST Act के section 4 में cover किया, तो what is happening? इसके ऊपर IGST लग गया 18%, that is 3,24,000. Now IGST can be set off first by IGST, then CGST और SGST. मतलब इसके ऊपर IGST के सेट ऑफ के लिए कोई कंडीशन नहीं. IGST के लिए आपके पास CGST का क्रेडिट पड़ा है, आप उसको यूज कीजिए. SGST का क्रेडिट पड़ा है, आप उसको यूज कीजिए. Any loss which is incurred to the state government will be made good by the central government itself. आपको उसके लिए परवाह करने की जरूरत नहीं. But yes, when you are taking the credit against IGST का क्रेडिट आपके पास पड़ा है, तो पहले आप IGST को IGST से सेट ऑफ करेंगे, फिर CGST और SGST. लेकिन IGST के अगेंस्ट आप कोई भी सेट ऑफ कर सकते हो, CGST हो या SGST हो. तो मैंने उसको सेट ऑफ कर दिया पूरा. Then the liability to pay IGST is 54,000. Is this clear? Now interstate purchases followed by interstate supply. अब मैंने purchase भी बाहर से किया है और मैं sale भी बाहर ही कर रहा हूँ. ABC Limited in Chandigarh makes a supply to XYZ Limited in Delhi, and XYZ Limited further sells to customer in Kerala for 18 lakhs. What would be the tax implications? ABC Limited simple है, interstate supply कर रहा है, IGST pay करेगा at the rate of 18%, that is 2,70,000. That will be paid to the appropriate government. Therefore, XYZ Limited is making a sale to a customer in Kerala, तो वो भी interstate supply हो गया. That will also be covered under IGST. तो उसके ऊपर IGST लगाया तो that comes to 3,24,000, and the set off of 270 is available. The balance 54 has to be paid in form of IGST. Is this clear? Then branch transfer of goods and services. If I am transferring the goods to my branch, what would happen? Messrs. ABC Limited, having registered business premises at Chandigarh, transfer the goods worth rupees 15 lakhs to its Delhi branch. Then the goods are sold to Messrs. XYZ, having registered business premises at Delhi from the branch for rupees 16 lakhs. Further, XYZ sells the goods to its customer in Delhi itself for 18 lakhs. What would be the tax implication? चंडीगढ़ में ABC लिमिटेड है, वो अपने ब्रांच में ट्रांसफर कर रहे हैं दिल्ली में, वहां से वो XYZ को सेल कर रहे हैं, and then XYZ is also making the sale in Delhi itself. What would be the implication? ABC Limited is making an interstate supply. We have already told that the self supply would be taxable under GST. So branch transfer is also covered under GST provisions. जब ABC Limited ने अपनी ब्रांच को ट्रांसफर किया 15 लाख का, तो उसके ऊपर वो IGST पे करेंगे. That would be 2,70,000. That would be paid to the appropriate government. अब ब्रांच के पास आ गया, ब्रांच ने XYZ को सेल किया for 16 lakhs. अब जो ब्रांच ने XYZ को सेल किया, that is an intra-state supply. That is within the state supply. तो उसके ऊपर IGST का कोई मतलब नहीं है. CGST लगेगा, SGST लगेगा, keeping in view the section 7 of this act. Okay. तो यहाँ पे 16 lakhs के ऊपर I would pay CGST and SGST, that is 144. Now again the input tax credit. अब मेरे पास IGST का क्रेडिट पड़ा है सर 270 का. That can be first set off against IGST, then CGST. तो मैंने CGST में पूरा सेट ऑफ कर दिया 144. अब मेरे को बचा कितना, मेरे को 126. That has been set off against the SGST liability. The balance which has to be paid is 18,000 with the state government. Now what would happen with XYZ Limited? XYZ Limited ने 18 लाख का सेल किया, उसकी liability बन गई 162 CGST and SGST, and they will take the input tax credit of the taxes paid on its purchases, which is 144 and 144. The balance is 18,000 and 18,000 have to be paid to the appropriate government. Is this clear? Any doubts in this? Now transfer of goods or services by the principal to agent. इसमें branch transfer और principal agent transfer में कोई difference नहीं है, because there is no concept of mutuality under GST. Okay, तो यहाँ पे वही same example है, it is working similar fashion which we have discussed earlier. वो same ही है. Now how to find out the transaction value? Messrs ABC Limited, having registered op premises at Chandigarh, sells the goods on credit worth rupees 15 lakhs to XYZ, having registered business premises at Delhi. At the time of sale, Messrs ABC gave a discount of 10% on the purchases. A further cash discount of rupees 50,000 was given to XYZ Limited for prompt payment to ABC Limited. At the time of purchase, Messrs XYZ Limited had incurred the insurance expenses of rupees 45,000, which are usually met by the seller in their industry. To find out the transaction value for the chargeability of GST. अब सर हमने transaction value के अंदर दो चीजें पढ़ी थी, एक तो जो discounts after the sale that will not be allowed, before the sale is allowed, and there was one more thing, any expense which is met by the purchaser on behalf of the supplier will also form part of the transaction value. अब यहाँ पे जो insurance expense है 45,000 का, वो generally करना था किसने, ABC Limited को, who is the supplier, but it has been met by XYZ Limited. That will add on to the transaction value. My transaction value would be the value of invoice or the amount paid or payable would be 15 lakhs less discount given before the purchases, that is 1,50,000, and the expenses incurred by recipient on behalf of the provider. I'm sorry, I've written 50,000 by mistake. It should be 45,000. 45,000 would be added, and the transaction value would be calculated. Okay. Now he is making the payment partially taxable and partially exempt. अब इस केस में आपको input tax credit कैसे मिलने वाला है? Messrs ABC Limited, having registered premises at Delhi, makes a supply of rupees 15 lakhs to XYZ, which also has the registered business premises in Delhi. Further, XYZ uses the input worth rupees 10 lakhs for taxable supplies and 5 lakhs for exempt supplies. The taxable supplies have been sold for rupees 12 lakhs by XYZ Limited. Illustrate the allowability of input tax credit. We have read it earlier that the partial SENVAT or the input credit will be allowed. So what would happen in this case? When ABC is supplying to XYZ Limited, it is similar like intrastate supply. उसमें तो कुछ खास नहीं है. CGST लगा, SGST लगा, and that amount has been paid by ABC Limited. अब XYZ Limited क्या कर रहा है? XYZ Limited ने क्या किया है? 10 lakhs worth of goods have been used for taxable supplies, whereas the 5 lakh worth of goods have been used for exempt supplies. तो जो टैक्सेबल सप्लाईज की हमारी कंसिडरेशन है दैट इज 12 lakhs. उसके ऊपर टैक्स लायबिलिटी क्या बनेगी? इंट्रास्टेट सप्लाई है दैट इज 1,08,000. Now the input tax credit will be allowed in the proportion of the input tax credit or the tax paid on the purchases used in the taxable goods or taxable services. यहाँ पे मैंने 15 लाख की टोटल परचेज की थी, उसमें से मैंने 10 लाख की जो गुड्स हैं वो मैंने टैक्सेबल के लिए यूज किया था. तो आई विल यूज दैट प्रोपोर्शन 1,35,000 डिवाइड बाय 15 lakhs into 10 lakhs. That comes around 90,000. That would be allowed as input tax credit in this case. Okay. Similarly, we'll do for the SGST, and the balances have to be paid by the supplier. Now, purchases from compounding taxpayer. अगर मैं कंपाउंडिंग टैक्स पेयर से परचेज कर रहा हूँ तो क्या नुकसान है? पहले तो इसमें नुकसान ये है सर, आपको कोई क्रेडिट नहीं मिलता है. Whatever taxes you are paying to the compounding taxpayer is your cost, and you will not get any benefit out of that. So Messrs ABC Limited, having registered business premises at Delhi, makes a supply of rupees 15 lakhs to Messrs XYZ Limited, which also has the registered business premises in Delhi. Messrs ABC Limited runs a small business unit and has opted for compounding option under section 8 of the Act. Further, Messrs XYZ sells the goods to its customers in Delhi for rupees 18 lakhs. Illustrate the tax implications. What we are going to do here is, ABC Limited ने is a compounding assessee. उसने क्या किया? 15 लाख के ऊपर सीधा 1% पे किया, that is 15,000, and that compounding tax has to be paid. अब XYZ Limited के बाद जब goods आए, उसके ऊपर उन्होंने इंट्रास्टेट सप्लाई किया था, तो उन्होंने 162 उनकी लायबिलिटी बनी. Now they will not be allowed the credit of 15,000 which they have paid to the compounding taxpayer. That means this 15,000 has become the cost for XYZ Limited. The other day there was additional director GST was sitting in the PhD chamber. So we were communicating with him. तो उन्होंने यही बोला कि जो compounding option है that should be actually done away with. Because जितना ज़्यादा compounding हम benefit देते रहेंगे, you will be more stuck. आपकी costing बढ़ती रहेगी. अगर यही SSE अगर मेरा normal provision में covered होता, तो I would have taken the credit of that और मेरी costing कम हो जाती. Inflationary effect कम हो जाता मेरा. तो they said कि हमने 50 लाख इसको रख दिया. एक हमने उनसे क्वेश्चन किया था कि earlier it was proposed that the minimum slab would be 25 lakhs, but in this GST law they have proposed that it would be 10 lakhs. Why is it so? Why you have reduced it? They said that if you are covered till 25 lakhs, you will not be able to pass on the standard credit. तो आप जो benefit आपको लेते रहेंगे जब तक, जितना भी हम let's say if we make the slab rate of 1 crore, तो आपको आप जो भी purchases करेंगे वो आपकी cost बनती जाएगी. तो looking at that perspective, we have reduced it to 10 lakhs. ताकि जो मेरे purchasers हैं, जो tax payer है, उसको legitimate benefit मिलना start हो जाए. Okay. That's it. I am done with my presentation today. And for any queries or any issues you have, we will discuss it after a cup of tea. We can have a cup of tea, and thereafter we'll have an open house for, let's say, 30-35 minutes, and we will discuss the issues we have with regard to these basics of the GST. I'll just show you the schedule once again. Probably I'll mail you that. This is a schedule we are going to follow from now on. This is Advocate R.K. Asija would be coming on 23rd of July. He'll be talking about the supply, the issues related to supply, valuation, time and everything. He'll be talking in detail vis-a-vis the excise provisions, VAT provisions and the service tax provisions. Mr. R.K. Asija is he was working with the department for 20 years. He worked there for 20 years. Thereafter, he has started his own practice. He was the partner with Lakshmi Kumar and Sridhar Attorneys, and he was the Chandigarh head for this Chandigarh office. And thereafter, he has left that, and now he is working in GST only. And the another session would be on 24th July. Mr. Sujit Bhadu is the partner with BSM Legal, Balbir Singh Mastan and Associates. These are the advocates for the Supreme Court of India, and they are taking up cases related to excise, service tax, and they are very active with this SISTAT and other appellate forums. you can just have a look at it. We'll mail the schedule today evening itself, and that's it. You can join for a cup of tea. Otherwise, there's a book available outside which I've written. I've made a small effort on that. If you wish to buy that, it is there outside. And any queries will come up after the cup of tea and we'll resolve them. Thank you so much.